And just like that, we have arrived in a new decade. All sorts of new promises, or maybe promises, I'm not sure, but all sorts of new opportunities, new stuff, all sorts of crazy wrestling stuff going on. And I figure we here at AWN should be expanding our coverage. So, what we're doing is we're going to also cover not just main roster stuff, we're also now getting into NXT UK. Admittedly, I don't watch it as much as I should, but I have been keeping close eyes on the UK takeovers, and they've always been pretty awesome shows in my opinion. And this time, we're going back to where it all started. Blackpool, Lancashire, England. The Empress Ballroom. Well, wait, did they have the first one? Yep, Empress Ballroom in Blackpool. Back to where it all started. And my god, we look at this card, I'd say we're in for one hell of an evening, at least at that point, or possibly early day, depending on where you're at. I'm Coffee Lover 239, and finally back in action, fully recovered, is Heathy. Say hi, Heathy.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Oh, I'm glad to have you back, man. And without further ado, let's get into the action. Our first match is Walter versus Joe Coffey for the United Kingdom Championship. Oh boy. No description for it here on Wikipedia, but it is listed on the WWE's website, so let's go from there. So, for several months, an ongoing series of volatile altercations involving Imperium, Gallus, and Aja Dragunov have been ripping apart NXT UK. While there are many factors that have fueled this chaotic conflict, arguably the most memorable moment occurred just seconds after Joe Coffey's battle against then United Kingdom champion Pete Dunne at the historic first ever NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool event. It was at that moment that Walter emerged in the rising brand for the first time and laid out the Gallus leader with a big boot before turning his attention to the bruiserweight. Fast forward 1 year and a lot of destruction later, after Gallus and Aja Dragunov have joined forces for a brutal 8-man tag team showdown against Imperium on the November 28th episode of NXT UK, which did little to quell the bedlam between the deadly forces, United Kingdom champion Walter met face-to-face with Joe Coffey to carry out historical negotiations with the intention of bringing an end to the bedlam. The proceedings were regulated by NXT UK General Manager Johnny Saint, assistant to General Manager Sid Scala. One of the conditions during the negotiations was a United Kingdom title match between the Ring General and the Iron King at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. And now that the showdown has been made official, everybody better get ready for an epic collision. You know, I think that's the perfect word to really sum up Walter in general, just epic. I mean, my god, the hell of the matches that he's put on between battling Pete Dunne and his other battles. And didn't he battle, who was it at TakeOver Cardiff? Yeah, Tyler Bate. My god, he's put on some pretty hell of a good classics, quite frankly. And when it doesn't even feel like that long ago. It was really only over a year ago or so when Walter has graced us with his presence in NXT UK, and he's been having a pretty damn dominating reign, if I do say so myself. He's currently still running strong at over 280 days, and this match should still be pretty good, just like his previous battles with Bate and Dunne. Heathy, who do you think's gonna win?
You said it yourself, Walter is an imposing figure, whether it's his ring entrance, the theme that goes along with it, his figure, while maybe people see it on the chubby side, I just think it's no nonsense. The way he conducts himself in the ring, his mannerisms, everything about him is striking and, yeah, really epic. On the other hand, you've got Joe Coffey, who's done some good work in WCPW, otherwise known as Divine Wrestling, as well as ICW. This is going to be a hard-hitting affair. You mentioned the sort of gang warfare mentality between Gallus and Imperium. Imperium has been established as the big bad group of NXT UK. They are the top heels in my opinion, and I'm surprised that they're not holding all the gold so far. I'm pretty sure they've got a match coming up with Undisputed Era, Worlds Collide, and we'll get to that when we predict it. But yeah, the thing is, Gallus, I think, are also heel. But the fact that Walter is such, a despised individual in kayfabe, I think Joe Coffey may have to play the de facto babyface in this situation. Yeah, dating all the way back to Pete Dunne and Coffey's match, we were so engrossed in the whole daydreaming of Pete Dunne versus Walter that we didn't really think about this matchup, Walter versus Joe Coffey. I was looking up at a stat recently. NXT UK TakeOver main events, on average, they go about 35 to 40 minutes. So, and when you look at these two, you're thinking almost a smaller version of Goldberg versus Lesnar. He's going to be a lot of hard-hitting, striking offense. If you're not a finisher, a signature, or a big power move, leave the arena. It feels like this would be perfect for a 10 to 15 minute, just absolute slugfest. But, I think we saw with Walter and Tyler Pate, they can go the distance. Also, Joe Coffey too. Don't know who was with. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he also had a pretty good, I think it was last man standing match at the last takeover. So, I mean, if they kept the match short and intense, it could be good. But my fear is they may shoot for another epic encounter, and that may be the downfall of this match as to who I think is going to win. I mean, Joe Coffey over the last few months has been pushed heavily, and not to any detriment. He's a great worker, but I have a hard time imagining him as the champion of NXT UK brand. But then again, I had a hard time imagining him headlining takeovers. So it's a bit of a toss-up, but for the sake of other matches and other outcomes on this card, I'm going to go with Volt to retain. And unless it's a no contest, I don't see Coffey getting any sort of headway in this outcome. Yeah, I'm going to go with Volta to win.
I wouldn't count on a no contest here. I mean, they certainly at least know how to actually send the crowd home happy, unlike what the main roster has given us over past few months at times. But yeah, who knows? I mean, even when we've had these epic grand standoffs, like in epic crazy ass matches, they've always been something, quite frankly, and I don't see why this wouldn't be any different. Looking at it though, how I think they're probably, I don't know if they're going to try and have Walter suppress Pete Dunne or get pretty close to him, quite frankly. Hey, they had Shayna Baszler suppress Asuka's reign, so yeah, I guess that says something, but I'm gonna go with Walter as well, truth be told. They obviously, I can only just imagine who the hell is actually gonna take him down, but oh boy, that's gonna be not for a good while. Our next match is Gallus, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang versus Imperium, Fabian Eichner, and Marcel Barthel versus Grizzled Young Veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster in a fatal 4-way tag team ladder match for the NXT UK Tag Team Championship. So, on the November 7th episode of NXT UK, Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster's match ended in a no contest after Gallus and Imperium interfered. On the December 12th episode of NXT UK, Gallus' title match against Imperium's Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner ended in a no contest after Mark Andrews, Flash Morgan Webster, and Grizzled Young Veterans brawled. Then Johnny Saint and Sid Scala came out and announced that Gallus will defend against Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, Grizzled Young Veterans, and Imperium at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2 in a ladder match. I do love me some tag team ladder match action, no lie, and looking at what we've got here, though, still, I think this should be a very damn hell of a match. Don't really have much else to say. Healy, who do you think's gonna win?
Well, I know this is a 4-way match, and it is involving the tag champions who are not either Gallus or Imperium. But, the more you look at these top two matches, this tag team match and the UK Championship match between Walter and Coffee, it just seems like the running theme is going to be Gallus versus Imperium. These two powerhouse teams, looking to establish dominance on this brand. Here's the thing about ladder matches, though. The ladder matches are really good ways to either have champions retain without needing to beat anyone in particular, or for the title to change hands without the champions losing. In that sense that they wouldn't get pinned. Makes it a bit tough to predict. But I feel like I feel like the blueprint for the Undisputed Era fits Imperium really well. Whereas Undisputed Era are more technical and more, they're more of like they're more of a gimmick sort of. Imperium are like hard hitting, no nonsense, constantly on the offense, but they sort of have the same dynamic in which they could lead a brand as a big, top unit, have all the titles, and no one would really bat an eyelid at them. I don't think that the Grizzled young vets need the titles again. I feel like they're great on their own without the titles. Morgan Webster and Mandrews, it's more about the chase for them rather than its victory. I mean, I don't want to say it, but if they were to win the titles this Sunday, maybe it seems sort of as the cheapening of it, because the last takeover they did, the build up in that match. It went about 40 minutes long. I can't remember. It was such a great match. I remember watching it with you, and we were just absolutely going insane with every single spot. And when they won it, it's like the roof blew off.
Yeah.
So for them to win again, I mean, it'll be great, but it would kind of take away a bit of the rub and a bit of the aura of the I think it was a triple threat tag match last time. So that leaves Gallus and Imperium, and what I think is going to happen is, I think the Imperium are going to be draped in gold. I think that's going to set up Dragunov versus the whole of Imperium. Maybe Gallus get involved, but I see them going on to different things. Who knows? Maybe something with Mustache Mountain before Tyler Bate maybe inevitably moves to NXT or US. But so it's a toss-up between the two major factions on which team's going to win this tag match and get the tag titles. I'm going for the champions to lose, and I'm going to go on a whim and say it's going to be Eichner and Barthel Imperium to win.
Imperium draped in all the gold. Boy, wouldn't that be something? Only thing they'd be really missing is like a mid-card title. Looking at this, I'm really genuinely not sure. This is probably the least followed thing for me when it comes to NXT UK. It's kind of the tag team division. Like I said, I haven't watched as much as I should. And admittedly, Gallus have already surpassed Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews' reign, and they're still going strong at 98 days. But and the Grizzled young veterans already had a pretty decent reign, so no need for them really. I don't know really. I'm not sure. If I had to, I'll just go with you for now and go with Imperium. Just who knows? It should still be a really good match. And who knows? Probably see some crazy spots again like we did last time with Cardiff. Our next match is Kaylee Ray versus Toni Storm versus Piper Niven in a triple threat match for the NXT UK Women's Championship. So on the November 28th episode of NXT UK, after Piper Niven's match against Ginny, Toni Storm returned and attacked Kaylee Ray. Then on the December 5th episode of NXT UK, after Toni Storm's match with Killer Kelly, Ray attacked Storm and Niven came out and helped Storm. But Storm, however, said that she did not need Niven's help. On the December 12th episode of NXT UK, after Kaylee Ray's match with Isla Dawn, Ray grabbed the mic and talked trash about Storm and Niven, only for them to come out, and Ray attacked both superstars. As Ray was leaving, Sid Scala announced that Ray will defend her title against Storm and Niven in a triple threat match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. So, I seem to not have the best of luck when it comes to predicting the women's side of things. Predicted Rhea Ripley would have retained at last year's Blackpool, but got smoked there when Toni Storm actually won. I predicted Toni Storm to retain for at Cardiff, but Kaylee Ray smoked her. And now what do I do, quite frankly? It's kind of a little bit crazy, though, with the way things have been going on. And I should mention, Toni Storm actually appeared on this week's episode of NXT US, actually. And she and Rhea Ripley will actually be battling it out for the NXT Women's Championship at Worlds Collide, which I'm going to. That should be fun. But yeah, looking here, though, at this, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to have the worst of luck. I mean, I do like what the women are doing in NXT UK, but, I don't know how well my luck will hold here. Healy, who do you think's going to win?
Well, if you're unsure, let me kind of attempt to sway your opinion on this, because I feel like future events may give away what happens there, because as we know, the World Collide tournament is, I'm not sure if it's a tournament or I think it's just a pay-per-view.
It's just a pay-per-view, basically.
Yeah,
it's like NXT versus NXT UK.
And there's some pretty good matches on there. We have Balor versus Dragunov. We have Imperium versus Undisputed Era. We also have Rhea Ripley putting her NXT Women's Championship on the line against Toni Storm. Here's the thing about this. If Toni Storm wins this match on Sunday and then goes on to face Rhea Ripley, you cannot have Ripley lose. You've got to have her hold the title for at least 3 months. And you can't have Storm lose, because that just absolutely diminishes the value of the NXT UK Women's brand. So right away, I'm thinking Storm isn't the one to do this. And plus, I think she was rushed back. Well, not rushed back, but rushed back into the title picture. Not rushed back into the brand. I think she's a great wrestler. Mm-hmm. Just rushed back into the title picture thus far. I feel like if Niven was to win the title, it would be, she would be culminated in a 1v1 match. I don't feel like having her win a triple threat match really does her justice. I feel like she's got a lot of backing behind her from the crowd, surely from creative. So, I don't know. I think for now, I feel like we can go a month or two more, or a few more months with Kaylee Ray's champion. She's been great so far. I mean, you could easily make a point for Niven to win the title, but I feel like they're waiting for a 1v1 moment, her versus Ray, for the change to finally happen. Maybe they're buying time for that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Kaylee Ray to retain.
Yeah, looking at it, that's what I was going to mention. I mean, Toni Storm would be facing off, again, Rhea Ripley at Worlds Collide. Not sure if she'll be taking the fall here, actually. If she needs to look strong going into her match at Worlds Collide, then I don't see her taking the fall or submission or whatever here. It'll probably will be involving the champion and Niven. Kaylee Ray's had a decent reign. If she could still hold on here, she'll be about 7 days away or so from surpassing Rhea Ripley's reign as a NXT UK Women's Champion. And looking at this, normally I wouldn't have it, but they don't really, they do tend to reserve more. Ever since they've introduced the takeovers, like UK takeovers, they've mostly been reserving, of course, the UK titles for there. And only say for maybe a big match or so, like when we had, Pete Dunne versus Walter, then they would have done it on a bigger stage. I don't see them doing that there, possibly for a title change for the UK Women's Championship. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully she retains and breaks my bad luck for this here. I'm going with Kaylee Ray to retain. And our next match, which also sadly does not have a Wikipedia description, Trent Seven versus Denis. But I found it on WWE's website here, so here's your intro. Denis has recently taken a strong interest in Trent Seven. First, he appeared when the Artful Dodger was greeting the WWE Universe, shaking the big, strong boy's hand and not letting go. Then, before Seven's match against the debuting Michael May, Denis suddenly emerged to deliver a pre-match assault on May before throwing him into the ring as some sort of offering to Seven. Finally, having enough, Seven called out Denis to finally get an explanation on the December 19th edition of NXT UK. But rather than offer some clarity, the intense former headmaster attacked him with his mic without uttering a single word. He then told Seven that he would see him at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. And I think I've just laid everything out perfectly clear. Heaty, who do you think's gonna win?
It's a pretty standard singles feud. I know they had big plans for Denis beforehand. He wrestled on the first TakeOver, NXT TakeOver UK of 2019, the original Blackpool TakeOver, where I believe he lost to Dave Mastiff in a no disqualification match, and he really showed his hardcore nature there. So I feel like if they had plans for him then, surely an injury isn't going to derail plans for him now. He's only like 31 years old. He's a great wrestler. He's got years ahead of him. We were discussing a mid-card title for NXT UK. This would be the guy you'd put it on. He's not really got that much character per se, but he's got enough that you really stop and take a double take when you look at him compete in the ring. So who I think is going to win? I don't know. I mean, Trent Seven's done strong work on this brand. He's almost a pillar of the NXT UK brand. But, Eddie Denis coming off that injury, he's just coming back. You've got to build people up who just come back. Otherwise, they're going to be an afterthought at any time their name's mentioned in conversation on the show. So I feel like Eddie Denis is a strong favourite here, and Trent Seven, I don't think he's that old, but he is one of the old guard in NXT UK. So I think he's one of them rare guys where losses really don't affect him. He's like a Sami Zayn or Dolph Ziggler of the NXT UK brand. Losses do not affect him. He will always be that pillar that you can look up to and say that guy they're always going to be there and thereabouts the upper mid-card scene. So for the sake of building up another talent and for the sake of making another star, I'm going to go with Eddie Denis to beat Trent Seven.
I see. It's kind of a toss-up for me, really. I'm not quite sure, really, again. Like I said, I don't follow it too much. Looking at them, Trent Seven is one half of Mustache Mountain, although they've kind of been little stagnant, though. Denis, I'm not sure for, but given how Seven has been stagnant a little bit, I might as well just go ahead and go with Eddie Denis as well. I'm not too concerned for some of these other results like I am with some of the other shows. To me, I'll still probably enjoy it regardless. And finally, our last match of the card, Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin. So, Devlin has been resentful for his supposed lack of opportunity for some time. In anger, he has chosen to focus on arguably the greatest example of success in NXT UK history, Tyler Bate. The Irish Ace has held resentment against Bate for being granted a United Kingdom title match against Walter at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, which, that match was beautiful. Going so far as to boycott any appearance at the event when he didn't have a match. He went on to make videos demonstrating his superiority in the locker room, as well as Bate's shortcomings. In addition, he took great pride in defeating A-Kid simply because Bate had shown the up-and-comer some support. Then, during Tyler Bate's match against Noam Dar on the December 19th edition of NXT UK, Devlin suddenly emerged on the stage to get a closer look at the action and nearly cost the first ever United Kingdom the decision. Wait a minute. Didn't he mean first ever United Kingdom champion? Oh god, they couldn't even ugh, whatever. I guess it happens to the best of us. Anyways, after the bell, Jordan rushed to the ring with the intent of attacking the object of his scorn, but when he saw that Bate was ready for him, he stopped short at the last moment. Fed up with it all, the first ever NXT United Kingdom champion, there you go, you got it right that time, challenged the Irish Ace, ooh, I'm having trouble talking today, to a match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. So yeah, again, not too much actually here to go for. Both are pretty good in ring though, and it should be exciting. Healy, who do you think's gonna win?
This match is an absolute sleeper, like I said. I mean, we keep harking back to TakeOver Blackpool, the first edition, but if you remember that, it was Jordan Devlin versus Travis Banks, or at least it was supposed to be, with Devlin launching a Fisher's Assault on Banks beforehand. The fact that the officials chose to put Finn Balor in a match against Jordan Devlin shows the magnitude of the trust they have in this man, and the character of Devlin himself. He's always been the person that's been kept under the radar and underrated component of the NXT UK brand. And I feel like, I mean, if you look at the title scene now, obviously we've got Coffee as Walter's next opponent. I think Walter wins that, of course, like I said. Who else have you got? You have Dragunov. Dragunov's the only one left as a potential as a potential competitor, as a number one contender. You don't really have anyone else there. I feel like the UK NXT UK brand needs to build up some more contenders for Walter, because I'm not too sure if they are ready to see Walter lose the title just yet. I mean, Walter is like Brock Lesnar, but it's believable to see Walter lose. I feel like Walter's still got quite some time with this title. And going back to this match, I feel like what better way to establish yourself as a man on the rise, heading to that top title scene, the title picture, by beating the inaugural champion. Tyler Bate, his last takeover match was for the title, and he lost that. It was a good match, great match actually, match a contender. But he lost that, and we talked about this earlier. We talked about NXT, the original NXT being a feeder system to the main roster, the developmental. I've made an argument for NXT UK being a developmental brand or a feeder for the original NXT. You have Rhea Ripley, NXT UK. She is now the NXT Women's Champion. You have Pete Dunne. You had Kaylee Ray show up at War Games. And potentially, I think it's going to be Tyler Bate who moves up to NXT. I feel like we're in a phase of Tyler Bate's career where there's a swan song period. Maybe they have one last match with Mustache Mountain, but I feel like he's done all he can do in NXT UK. I don't think he can do much more, except put over someone who's on the rise and who could easily have a great match with Walter. I'm not sure if you've seen OTT, but Devlin had a few matches with Walter back in that promotion, and they were 5-star classics. And I'm sure NXT UK want to replicate that. And they can only do that if Devlin has momentum on his side, to get into a position where Devlin can genuinely say, I deserve a shot at this title. So yeah, what better way to do that than by being the inaugural champion? So I'm going to go with, for future booking sake, I'm going to go with Jordan Devlin to beat Tyler Bate.
It probably depends on if they're willing to bring him back, Tyler Bate, into NXT, or bring him whenever back. I'm not fully sure when, but it just depends, when they're ready to bring him in, I suppose, there. I remember they wanted to really rush him up, onto the main roster at some point, even though it was so soon. It's yeesh, might be getting a little bit of heat for not going up to the main roster, the call-up, because it was so sudden, and Bate is pretty much, let's just say me and him were born the same year, but a couple months apart. He was born in March. I was born in May, so yeah. That said, though, that would make sense, I suppose. And who knows if they're going to bring both Seven and Bate over and keep Mustache Mountain together. And maybe have them spice up the tag division in the US side of NXT. Because the tag division here, from what I can see for the UK side, is pretty much at least fine enough. But the US side, we're kind of in a little bit of a different predicament there, actually. And so having both members of Mustache Mountain put over, like, their opponents, and then bring them over together to keep, maybe add in a little extra competition for the, US NXT Tag Division, which there's kind of not really any other too much credible threats, shall we say, for the Undisputed Era, but that's another topic for another time. Looking at this match, yeah, I'm going to go with Jordan Devlin as well. That way you worded it just makes enough sense, so yeah, going with Devlin on this one. And that's going to basically do it. I mean, last year's UK TakeOver Blackpool was pretty good, so I expect this one, hopefully, to surpass last year as well. The TakeOver UKs, UK takeovers, even though there have only been like 3 of them, they've all been pretty good, actually, and a nice break from the normal action that we see at times on the main roster, and even sometimes in NXT regular. Anyways, I want to thank Heathy here for being with me, as always. Say bye, Heathy.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great time predicting, and we will see you for our next podcast, which is
Worlds Collide. That should be pretty fun, actually. And I should mention, I am going to Worlds Collide. It is in my kingdom of Houston. And if Miracle can call Toronto, where he lives, his kingdom, and I can call where I live, Houston, my kingdom. So yeah, I've got not just Worlds Collide, but also the Royal Rumble. But we'll be doing separate videos for both of those. Going to both shows, and really looking forward to Worlds Collide. I actually got floor seats for Collide, so yeah, I'm expected to hopefully have a pretty good time, and we'll see you guys then. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.